And I don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, for those of you listening, I'm not against turbos. Every vehicle I own has turbos on them, right? So
Yeah.
I'm all for turbos, superchargers, all of that stuff.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, the V10 on a Lambo sounds great,
It
right?
screams, man.
I still believe that one of the best sounds, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, but one of the
Yeah.
best sounds in the car industry today is the Aventador.
Absolutely.
That
100%.
Aventador at high RPM,
Yeah,
just
just
screaming through the
screaming.
gears,
And with
it's
the
got
yeah, with the right exhaust, man, that thing sounds so
it.
crazy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm John. This is Adam. And we're going to talk about Car Week, man. I wish I could have made that trip. I wish I could have made it. But Adam made the trip, so he's going to tell us all about it, man. So let's kick it right off, man. What was your favorite cars overall that you saw there?
So I'll tell. Let me start off real quick. So for those of you who are following the channel, we did post a short video about 15 minutes long, and John and I decided to do this additional video because there's so much content that I did not get a chance to post. There's so much content that I like took pictures of, and I really should have took video of. You know, I'm learning, man. I'm learning as we're going.
Dude, it's a lot. It's a
And
lot.
so I'll tell you, and John's never been to Car Week. This is my 4th year at Car Week. And I will tell you, this is probably the most overwhelming year that we've ever had. There was just so many more people. There was so much more chaos. There was so much more traffic. But with it came a lot of really cool stuff. Now,
Right.
some of the big stuff like Exotics on Broadway was just chaos. It was even, if you watch some of the other creators' videos, it was
Right.
even hard to like maneuver around there, right? Pebble Beach was kind of the same way.
Is
So
it getting to a point though that you're like, man, I don't know. This is something I maybe don't go to next year. Or is
I
it like, nah,
may
I
have
gotta be here every
I may
year?
have said that at one point, was like, man, I don't, this might be my last year here. But
Right.
if you're not going to the crazy stuff like Exotics on Broadway, and you're not
Right.
going to like Pebble,
Right.
the other stuff throughout the week is not that chaotic, and it's
Right.
just awesome.
Right.
And to be fair, you could get out there on Spirit Airlines. You could get yourself a deck chair, or like a camping chair, and you
Right.
could sit by the side of the road and watch these cars roll through, and you'd have probably just as much fun as any of us that are paying to go to these events and stuff. So you start off by asking me my favorite car, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I sent you a lot of pictures. So you're gonna have to tell me like the favorite car of the pictures I sent you. But
Oh man.
asking me my favorite car is really, really difficult because I saw so much stuff. And
Right.
you know me, I'm a Koenigsegg fan. Like, I mean, that's like the ultimate. I don't know if I'll
Right.
ever get there, but
Gotta have
I
something to
love
point for though, right?
man, I love the Koenigsegg's. I think that they're an amazing achievement. I think they're one of the coolest cars I've ever seen in real life, especially not just the lines, but the technology and the thought process that goes behind them.
Absolutely.
Seeing 17 of them
That's
together
unreal, man. That is
was
absolutely unreal.
unbelievable. Now, I'm going to post a
Unbelievable.
picture up of, we'll do a quick little video of that, but I'll post a picture up. So, what's really funny is in 2021, my son and I did a road trip where we went from like Vegas to San Diego to LA, and then flew out of LA. Went to like the San Diego Museum, San Diego Zoo and all that stuff. We had a
Right.
really great time. When we were in LA, we stopped at this like Lamborghini exotic dealer,
Right.
and they had this Koenigsegg uh, Regera, and it
Okay.
was exposed carbon with gold flake.
Nice.
Fast forward 2024, Sotheby's auction, that thing's up for sale.
What
And I
did
was
it
like,
sell
how
for?
cool is that, right?
Yeah. Do you know what it sold for?
No,
Oh, okay. A
because
lot, or did it
your
not
boy
sell?
your boy got in there early and was able to go during the preview times. Was not allowed to be in there during the auction. I don't have that kind
Ah,
of money, so
oh yeah, you gotta have. I guess that's an event you're invited to. So
yeah, correct
yeah,
change kind of thing.
yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
have
yeah.
a correct change. I love it, man. So
Yeah, but I mean,
what?
it was auctions like the whole weekend. You could go
Yeah,
to auctions everywhere. We went to Meekum, we went to Gooding, we went to Sotheby's. There was another couple auctions that were out that way as well.
Right.
And it was pretty cool to see some of that stuff. If for those of you who watched the video that I posted, we were at Mecum when the Enzo sold for like $2 million. And it's crazy because you're up there and you're like, oh my God, it's going to sell for 2 million. And then I was talking to the people next to us and they're like, oh yeah, but there's a 10% buyer's premium on top of that. And I'm like, oh, they paid another $200,000 to get that car.
Woo. Lord.
Lord.
That is the correct change. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, you went out there and, obviously you got to meet some really cool people in the process of this. Do you want to name drop those people or you want to hold it tight or what you got? Man?
So what was crazy is I ran into a ton of people out there. Yeah. I ran into some content creators. I ran into some, car designers. I ran into some, famous people, right?
Right.
Everybody I met was super, super cool. And,
awesome, man.
I'm just gonna say it really quick. One of the coolest people I ran into, and I've run into him before, but he's a genuine guy, is Daniel Mack, right? Okay. I ran into him at Laguna Seca. I've talked to him, previously. We met at Exotics on Broadway a few years back. And you want to talk about a genuine guy? He's such a cool dude. That's if you recognize him, he'll stop. He'll talk to you. A true, really cool guy.
True car guy through and through.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
But
that's awesome, man.
There was a bunch of people out there. And like I said, I didn't run into anybody that I ever felt at any moment like I walked away and I was like, dude, that guy's fake. Everybody out there was legit. And I think, for those of you listening, I think that's one of the cool things about what we're talking about here is we're all kind of bonded together by the passion and drive for cars, you know? And I think that's what makes everybody so cool about it. I don't know. It was just awesome, a really cool experience. That was probably, one of the coolest things that happened. So
I can imagine, man. So let's talk about some of the cars that you saw because it is car week and we got to talk about them. So the new Maserati, man, what did you think?
So the new Maserati, they call it the GT2 Stradale. It's got a little bit extra horsepower. It's got a big wing on the back. It's still running the 6-cylinder engine, right? They released it in this like matte purpley color.
That's cool.
I've got a picture of it. I'm betting it's going to be $400,000, right?
Yeah. There was a lot of cool releases this weekend.
There was a ton.
We had the replacement of the Huracan.
Not a fan.
That game.
Not a fan. Not a fan at all. I don't like the look of it. I don't like the side profile of it. I think the side profile of it reminds me a little bit of an Aventador, but it's kind of trying too hard.
Did they keep the doors normal? Do you know?
Yeah, the doors are normal. They're not.
So they didn't do Lamborghini doors.
So the rule with that is they only go Lamborghini doors
V12
on.
Doors.
No, not just V12, but it's any of the like the limited release cars and the V12 cars, right? So like the Centenario and the Sion and all that, those have Lambo doors, right?
Right.
I'm just not I don't like the way the front looks, and I don't like the fact that it is a V8 turbo hybrid, right?
Versus the naturally aspirated V10. Right.
Yes. And don't get me wrong. For those of you listening, I'm not against turbos. Every vehicle I own has turbos on them. Right. So I'm all for turbos, superchargers, all of that stuff.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, the V10 on a Lambo sounds great. Right.
It screams, man.
I still believe that one of the best sounds, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, but one of the best sounds in the car industry today is the Aventador.
Absolutely.
That Aventador 100%. At high RPM, just screaming through the gears.
And with with the right exhaust, man, that thing sounds so crazy.
It's got to be one of the best. And you can be sitting. Remember that clip we put up a while ago with Jeremy Clarkson, right? I can be sitting anywhere and you hear that go by, and I'm like, Aventador.
Yeah.
Where's
it at? Where is that?
And
it's getting that way with the R8s and the V10s and the Huracan.
They have a very unique
the same
sound
way.
too.
It's unique. I would know it if I didn't see it. And a lot of manufacturers are getting away from that because of the turbos. I feel
they are. Well, I mean, look at These guys, right? McLaren did that with the Artura. They put a 6-cylinder in the Artura and they put a hybrid motor in it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to bash the car. I like driving the car. I think the car is still cool. I feel like the tech inside the car is actually much nicer than my 600 LT.
Right.
But you can definitely tell it doesn't have that same like
V8
feel.
sound.
Yeah, that same
and that's the
V8
same
feel.
thing. I think Maserati with the GT2 Stradale, I feel like they missed a mark, man. They're the best sounding V8s on the market. Throw it in the freaking MC20 for us, guys. Come on, Maserati.
I don't know that the chassis for that MC20 is big enough. I really don't.
Cut some stuff. Look, I just started cutting. Like, let's go.
Guys, this is the same dude who would put like a Hayabusa engine in a smart car. Right? So I mean,
absolutely, let's go. I would do it in a heartbeat, man.
Yeah, I mean, here's the truth, right? The truth is, I'm not a fan of that car. I think you and I had the conversation when the bottom drops out and it depreciates down to like 150 grand.
It'd be cool to have.
I like it, right? But I'm not going to pick it over I'd pick an R8 over that. I'd pick a Huracan. And I will tell you, a car that seems to kind of got overlooked was the Technica.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the Huracan, and now everybody's talking about the new car, the Tamarario. And Tamarario?
Do you want to hear a Southern guy try to say Tamarario?
Yeah, Tamarario. So
I'm not made for these Italian names, man.
So here's the thing, man, is between those two cars was the Technica. Yeah. I really, really like the Technica. I think it's a good looking car. Now, one of our friends has a Lamborghini STO,
right?
And he'll be like, "Well, why would you want that? It's a watered down version of the STO." I get it. I agree 1000%.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, if you're taking the Technica and the Huracan, I'd rather have the Technica. I think it's a better looking version of the Huracan. Put it that way.
My list of like Huracans, because it's all kind of the same platform, and I think that's why the Technica is kind of overlooked.
Yeah.
Is mine would go STO, and then probably Performante, and then if I don't have the money for either one of those, which I don't, I would probably go for the lower model.
I would definitely go STO. And actually, people are going to hate me. If I had the option right now, I wouldn't even pick an STO. And the reason why I wouldn't pick them is simply because of the fact that when you go to Car Week, when you go to these other places, there's a bunch of STOs.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because it's an awesome platform. It's an awesome car. It's a mean looking car.
Value.
Oh, it does.
Holds decent value too. Yeah.
But I would still take the Technica because you don't see as many of them as you do the STO. Right.
Right.
Now, that STO is I believe a better version of that car. I get it. Right. But you know me, I like to be unique. So, but speaking of cars that are, yeah, I know you do. But speaking of cars that are,
give me a big wang, man. But yes, speaking of the new cars that just came out, what's up?
Mustang GTD.
Yeah, pass.
So that one's one you're not a fan of, right?
I'm not.
I've never really been in love with Mustangs. I do like the GT 500. Yeah. I love it for what it is. I think it's a cool car. I wouldn't mind having one in like blue with white racing stripes, just as like my muscle car,
Yeah. Okay.
But I'll tell you what, I saw that GTD last year at Pebble Beach, and it was, like coming soon sort of thing.
Right.
The more I see that car, the more I like it. And it is a direct competitor for the GT3 RS.
Right.
100%.
But I'd rather have the GT3 RS. For that money.
No. Yes and no, right? So yes, I'd rather have the GT3 RS because it's a proven platform, right? If that GTD comes out and it even puts a time anywhere near that GT3 RS, I'd rather have the GTD. And the reason why I say that is because they're only going to be like 2,000 GTDs, and there's like 2,000 GT3 RSs in Atlanta.
In your zip code.
In my zip code.
So yes, I agree in the aspect of, is it going to be a more rare car? Yes. But if I was picking, obviously they wanted to make a car that's going to compete with the GT3
Yep.
RS, but it's still not the GT3 RS. You know
No,
what
but
I mean?
nothing is, right? So,
So
and I was never really, and I've said this on the podcast before, I was not in love with the design. I really like the old Porsches. And then I think when the Porsche had like the kidney bean headlight, right?
yeah,
Um, those 911s I kind of lost the passion for them. And then with the
right.
newer body styles, with the newer GT2 RSs and the GT3 RSs and the GT3s, I've kind of gotten back to where I'm like, man, I really like that car, right? And
Yeah,
I could definitely see owning that car in place
absolutely.
actually of the McLaren, right? But
Yeah,
let's be honest, whether you think it's a good looking car or not, at the end of the day, Porsche sets the bar. Everybody wants
yeah,
to be, I want to be this goes against the GT2 RS. This goes against the GT3 RS, right?
right.
There it is.
But it's something about that car, man. It's special. But
Yeah.
all right, so moving forward, let's see. You had the Koenigsegg takeover.
Oh my
We
God.
talked about that. We hit on it a little bit, but my gosh,
Yeah.
man,
I mean,
that many Koenigsegg's in one spot,
so I'll tell
dude.
you what was funny, right? Throughout the week, we saw Koenigsegg's, and our the tagline of the week was casual, right? We literally pulled up to a stoplight, looked over at the Days Inn, and there's a Senna parked at the Days Inn, and I'm like, oh, just casual,
Dude,
just by the
just
side of the
chilling.
road, you
Yeah.
know. We were driving down the street, and there was in the parking lot was a Koenigsegg Agera just right in the parking lot.
Wow.
And I was like, just casual, man. I mean, it was so funny because there were so many cars, and a car that's super popular out there was the F12 TDF. I saw
Right.
a bunch of them, right?
Really?
And yeah, and it was crazy
Hmm.
because they were just in the parking lot, you know?
You know, it's neat because like, we're talking about it like it's a casual thing. Like, oh, look, there's a Koenigsegg. Oh,
Yeah,
wow, another the newest this or that crazy car. And it's like, I live in Auburn, Alabama, man. The craziest cars in Auburn, Alabama might be owned by me.
yeah.
Right. You know
So
what I mean?
so what's
So
funny was
it's
when we
just
got out
wild,
there,
man.
when we
I
got
can
out
only
there,
imagine.
I brought my two car guys shirt, right?
Yeah.
And it was it was like I wanted to have another one. And
Yeah.
so we're sitting in traffic one day, and I look over and there's this place and it says, we do custom shirts or whatever. And I got the phone number off of
Yeah.
the thing, and I was like, oh my God. And I called this guy, and he's like, yeah, I'll have one for you in half an hour. Send me your logo.
What?
And I was like, done.
Dude,
And
you should have
so
just printed like 20 of them and been like, "Hey guys, check it out. Two car guys shirt, hat for
so
sale."
what's funny is that's kind of their side gig, right? The name of
Right.
them was Attention to Decal. So quick shout out
I
to the
like
guys
that.
over at Attention to Decal.
Appreciate
They
you
were
guys.
they were awesome. Prices were great. They were so
Awesome, man.
cool.
Yeah.
And I ended up one of the shirts I got when I was like pulling it a little bit, I ripped the top. So
Oh no.
I had to go get needle and thread from Rite
Yeah.
Aid. And so I pull into Rite Aid, and across from there's, Starbucks. So we walk over there, and I look over, and there's like two Koenigsegg's in the parking lot, and there's a couple
Wow,
content
man.
creators. And I went out and started talking to them. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I love your channel. We started a channel, whatever.
Yeah.
And kid you not, they all start rolling in. And then all of a
That is
sudden,
amazing.
Christian rolls in, right? And he rolls in, and on the side of his Koenigsegg Attack, Yesco
Yeah.
Attack, it says world
Wow.
record car. And I'm like, oh my God. And
Yeah, dude.
so they all roll in. And I will tell you, we said it earlier, right? Christian got out of the car, and he was talking to a bunch of people that were willing to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I walked up to him, and I started a conversation with him, and about the most personable guy you could ever want to meet. So
Dude, that's
super
amazing,
nice,
man.
such a good dude. And I mean, I know their story. I know kind of what inspired
Yeah.
him to, get into creating cars. If you guys haven't seen it, there's
Oh,
a
story of the
movie called
hypercar.
Apex. Yeah, Story of the
Apex.
Hypercar.
Oh,
Awesome story,
I watch it on
right?
repeat.
Yeah,
I mean, literally watch it on repeat. It's my
it's legit.
favorite thing to watch. And
But here's the
that's
thing:
amazing.
to see 17 of them roll up next to
That's
each other,
how
mind
many
blowing.
what do you think the percentage of Koenigsegg's produced today that would have been? I mean,
Well,
it's at least 10.
so
10% of their
somebody said
production.
there were 30 total that went to Car Week for the 30
Wow,
years that they've been
man.
in business, right?
That's
I saw
amazing.
17 of them.
That's amazing, man.
And what was really funny was a friend of mine texted me right before that, and he was like, "Hey, one of his friends, this guy, his name is Tim. He's like,
Yeah.
Tim is with the Koenigsegg guys, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, if you see him, say hi." Sends me this guy's picture. I met this guy at the gas station in the Koenigsegg last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So we're sitting there. The last Koenigsegg rolls up, full exposed carbon Agera, right?
Wow.
Red stripe down the middle. Door opens up. Tim steps out. I'm like, dude.
I'm so jealous of you, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome.
That's
So I mean,
amazing,
it was
man.
a pretty crazy
crazy.
experience. And
Yeah.
to your point, to see those cars, I've seen a couple of them in real life, right? But to see
Yeah.
that many of them together,
Dude,
it was insane.
I mean, kid me would not know where to look. You know what I mean? It's just
Oh
like,
yeah, it
and
was
it's just,
insane.
I just probably melt down. I don't know.
Well,
Why
the
are
funny
you
thing
crying,
was,
John? I don't know. I'm crying.
they all rolled in, and then all of a sudden these two Paganis rolled in behind them, and everybody was like, "Oh my!" I didn't even know how to process it. Like you're looking at 17 Koenigsegg's, and all of a sudden Paganis. Like what? What's
Yeah.
happening? You know?
So we got to hit on some other cars that I saw through your video. You got the T50.
Crazy
That thing.
car.
Is it
So
cool? I've heard a lot
never
about it. I've never seen it in person.
never seen it in person until Car Week.
Yeah.
They had a few of them there, and they had the Niki Lauda edition, which was pretty cool.
Yes.
They actually had, and I sent you a picture of this. They had Niki Lauda's actual race car,
Oh, did they?
and they raced it on the track,
That's amazing.
and they had his
That is
helmet,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
And so right next to that was Gordon Murray's T50s, and this guy's in there programming it, and it's an awesome car. I mean, now I will say, you can see that he basically said, "I still love the F1 McLaren," and
I see that in the
rebuilding-"
pictures.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That it's like, this is what they wouldn't let me do with the F1. So ta-da.
It's very F1 McLaren, but
yeah.
what an awesome car. What a
That's
cool
amazing.
like setup. And the fact that they did the kind of little hat tip to Niki Lauda, that was pretty awesome.
Man, I can only imagine having a conversation with him and just getting so technical. Oh, dude, that'd be amazing. And just hearing all the little details about the car that you don't know or that aren't on a piece of paper. Oh,
and
man, that's amazing.
Speaking of technical, so one of the cars that you didn't know about, or you told me you never heard of, was the McMurtry.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, so for those of you listening, go search McMurtry on YouTube. Look up the McMurtry hill climb, right? And watch this car. First of all, it sounds like a jet engine flying past you, and it's essentially got a like a turbine on the bottom that sucks the car to the ground.
Oh, the pure electric little fan car.
Yep.
Sorry. I knew it is something different.
So it sucks the car to the ground, and then it like kicks out all this debris from the back. And I was like, what happens if like a stick gets under there?
That's one thing. I mean, I can imagine how it grips using this fan, right?
Yeah.
To just keep it locked down. But what's all the stuff? The car behind you is getting just plastered.
I got a far away video because I didn't realize they were racing them. We were walking up toward the corkscrew, and I didn't realize they were going around the track.
Yeah.
And so I got a quick little video of them on like a cool down lap. But one of them spun out apparently.
Yes, I heard that. And they said it was so good that like it was able to just keep it.
He just recovered. He just recovered and went right back out there. But that car was really cool. Now it's really small, compared to what you think it is in person. It's really small, but it was pretty awesome.
The dimensions look kind of shoey.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like
it's neat though. I mean, and it's cool, and I understand it's extremely fast. So
it's extremely fast. Yeah. Now I will say the crazy thing about Car Week is, like, pick a car that you've always thought was like your dream car.
Yeah.
Or an unobtainable car, something that you'd never even dream of seeing.
Yeah.
And there's 7 or 8 of them.
So you're basically living in Forza Horizon.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Basically.
So we went to one car auction, and they had like a whole run of Zagatos. They had like a Zagato Lamborghini, they had a Zagato Aston Martin, they had a Zagato Alfa Romeo, they had a Zagato Jag. And I was like, this is like to have this many next to each other.
Yeah.
And then at that same auction, there was a Alfa Romeo 8C.
Yes. Yes.
And there's not many of there's like 500 in
No.
the world or something, right?
Yeah. And
And
we
they just
saw one
had
of
one.
those at Barber. Remember?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And they
Super cool.
just casual, right?
Yeah.
And so what's funny about it was, there's actually a clip on Instagram I saw earlier today where they had a SP3 Daytona, right?
Okay.
The new Ferrari, which by the way,
Yes.
I saw like 3 or 4 of them driving down the road. It's unbelievable.
Right.
And then we saw a couple of them like at the car show. So they had
Wow.
an SP3 Daytona. They had a Ferrari Enzo, Ferrari F50, Ferrari F40, and a Ferrari, I think it was a 348 GTO,
Right.
all in yellow.
That's wild, man.
Every
Yeah,
single one of them in yellow.
you did. I think you sent that to me, and
And I
that's
was like,
pretty crazy.
okay, not to mention the fact that you have all these cars together, but the fact that they're all
Oh,
in yellow.
yeah, which is a rare color.
Super rare,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, but the thing about Car Week, and you'll learn this next year when you go, because we have to go together.
Yeah, we gotta go.
So
I gotta go.
the thing that you'll learn about Car Week is more about the things you didn't get to see,
Right.
right? Because there's so much happening. You
Right.
know, if you're a Lamborghini owner, you may have access to the Lamborghini house, right? That's a
Right.
whole different experience from the person who has no access to anything, or for the
Right.
person who has access to Casa Ferrari, which
Right.
I've been there 4 years, and I just learned that people actually stay there. It's
Stay
at
there.
Pebble Beach. Oh yeah. You drive your Ferrari, you park it there, and you stay in those little bank of hotels, and the whole thing is like this big Ferrari. Oh yeah.
Correct change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can
But then
hear it just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
speaking of correct change, right? The other thing that was
Wild,
crazy
man.
was we'd be at some of these auctions and you'd see this car and I'd be like, that thing's a piece of junk. You know, it's got dust on it, it's rusted, the
Yeah.
seats are ripped. I've got pictures of Mercedes SL 300, right?
Yes.
300 SL.
Yeah.
And the thing just looks trashed, right? It's
It makes
estimated to go between
money.
1.4, 1.6 million.
I just wish I could have found that in the barn and talked to the guy
Oh
into
my
selling
God,
it
if
to
you
me.
found that in a barn, you'd be a millionaire overnight, you know?
It's wild, man.
And like there was this little Bugatti. It was, like the
Right.
old school open top Bugattis, right?
Yeah.
And this little Bugatti there, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I was like, oh my God, that says 11 million in the window.
That's a lot of money.
Oh, it's unbelievable, man. It's
So
unbelievable.
let me ask you this. So you see all these numbers, you see all these crazy cars, these unobtainium cars that you're just not going to see on a normal base. And you're seeing this for a week. At the end of the week, do you feel like numb to it? Like you're like, hey man, let's stop by the McLaren dealership. Oh, $2 million, whatever, no big deal.
I
Do
don't,
you feel that way?
it's kind of funny because not last year before, I was
Right.
overwhelmed with it. I was just inundated with it so much to the fact that I wasn't numb with it, but it did have that sense that like when I got back to Atlanta and I was driving down the road, I was like, where are all the McLarens?
Where's all the cool cars? Yeah.
it just like they were everywhere, right?
Yeah.
This year I kind of knew what to expect. And I will
Right.
say when I came home, all I could think about was wanting to drive my cars,
Yeah,
know? And
absolutely.
I was like really excited to do it. Now, I will tell you this really quick because I know we need to wrap up, but
Yeah.
we rented a car and we talk a little bit about it on the video,
Right.
but we rented a car off of Turo and it happened to be a bi-turbo V8 Mercedes.
Nice.
And had the top down pretty much the whole time. That's why this part's a little red. And I mean, that car sounded good. It was fun to drive.
Right.
I had a great time in that car. And
That's awesome, man.
every year I do this, I say to myself, man, maybe I should ship a car out here next year. And then I'll be driving down the road and you see these freaking potholes or even worse, coming out of some of these places, right?
It's just a transition that's the worst
transition
ever.
onto the main road. I'm like, I would high center this car.
Yeah.
So part of me does not want to bring my own car out there, but
yeah.
I
can see the appeal though, because then you're in your
appeal.
car and the experience is your experience.
Yep.
But yeah, so to wrap it up, man, what was your favorite overall place to eat in in Car Week?
So that's about as tough as picking a car. So I learned a few years ago, right? The best thing to do if anybody's looking for tips for Car Week, the
Yeah,
best thing to do is call like a month ahead of time
and go
and
ahead and
start
book it.
reserving
Yeah,
restaurants, right? Get your lunches in, get your dinners in,
yeah,
and I was doing it at Pebble Beach, so we were going into Pebble Beach quite a lot.
right.
The bench at Pebble Beach is probably one of my favorite places to eat, period. They have a bolognese that's really good. And
That's
I know it's
awesome,
going to
man.
sound weird, but they do a fire roasted strawberry dessert
Okay,
and it's awesome. Like it might
okay.
sound weird, but it's absolutely incredible.
Sounds
But
amazing.
the sneaky place, because we had some like really good steaks.
Right.
We had some really good stuff. There's a goat cheese potato croquette at Roy's that is like I'd go back just for that, right?
So to sum it
But
up, it's not one place; it's a lot
no,
of
it's
good
not.
places,
But
and that's awesome, man.
the sneaky place was on Pebble Beach. There's a place called Hayes Place.
Okay,
Hayes Place is a little golf course that was designed in partnership with Tiger Woods, right?
okay,
So is like the little golfing area. Hayes
okay,
Place is the restaurant that's at the top of the hill and it looks down over the the little inlet or whatever.
okay,
And they're like kind of Mexican food, right?
okay.
They've got cheese dip and they've got tacos and stuff.
Right.
Some of the best tacos I've ever had. Some of the best cheese
Awesome.
dip I've ever had. We
Awesome.
went back there a second time during the trip just to go
Right.
to that place. It was awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that's great, man. So it sounds like an awesome trip, a success for you. I totally wish I was there. So I'm extremely jealous I didn't go. It's not jealous. I guess I'm just upset with myself. Again, this is like a recurring thing on the channel. You'll start to notice.
Well,
But
fingers crossed, we will get some traction out of this. Hopefully, we
absolutely.
will,
Let's go.
some of the people we met out there, we'll get them on the channel and be able to have
Let's
some
go, man.
conversations with
That would be
them.
amazing.
I think our audience will really love that. But,
Yes.
in the future, I'm going to start dragging you to these things. So you're not going to have
I
a
know,
choice.
man. I got to come out, man. So
Yeah.
it with that, we appreciate everybody for hanging with us this long, listening to our stories, and appreciate you hitting that like button and comment below. Tell us if you went to Car Week, if you didn't go to Car Week, what you would do it different if you went, and let us know what you think about Adam's trip to Car Week.
And let us know what you think about some of these car launches too. I
Absolutely,
mean,
yeah,
I'm pretty passionate about the way I feel about some of those cars. So if you feel differently, let me
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But thanks
absolutely.
everybody. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you on the next one.
Thank y'all. Peace.